Hey, you. Yes, you. Do you know where the big dreams of little people are hidden? Get comfy and close your eyes, because I'm about to share a wonderful secret with you. Somewhere on the edge of the forest, under thick tree canopies, lived a little cricket named Chirp. While others worked, he sang. Every evening, when the sun set and the forest sank into peace, Chirp would sit beneath the old oak and pour his soul into song. His melody was gentle, filled with dreams of faraway worlds and grand stages. However, the forest's residents didn't share his love for music. The ants, diligent and hardworking, didn't understand Chirp or his dreams. There he goes, singing again, grumbled one ant, carrying a tiny piece of food to the storage. While we work, he just sits and daydreams. Daydreams about winter, I'd say, replied another ant with a laugh. And then he'll come asking for food when the first snow falls. Those harsh, cold words hurt Chirp. The song he sang with such love was not appreciated. He felt like a burden, unwanted in a world where work was valued above all else. The ants constantly reminded him of his uselessness, and this time, it was too much. He realized that he would never be accepted there. That night, when the entire forest was asleep, Chirp decided to leave. He didn't have much, just a few memories from the past, and perhaps a dried blade of grass that he kept as a reminder of the days when he believed his song could change the world. He packed his old suitcase, small and faded, because he had gathered nothing but dreams and memories. He closed it carefully, glanced back at the forest, and set off. Somewhere far away, he whispered to himself, there must be a place where my song will be loved. He walked for a long time, for days, through meadows, across hills, and finally, one gloomy morning, he came across another cricket. This cricket watched him with gentle curiosity, recognizing the same longing in his eyes. Where do you come from? The new cricket asked. From the forest, replied Chirp. But no one understands me there. They all think I'm lazy, and my song means nothing. The other cricket laughed, not with mockery, but with understanding. You're not the only one. I was once like you. But here, in the meadow, there's a place where those like us are valued. Here. Chirp looked at him in disbelief. Where? The opera, said the cricket proudly. Come, I'll take you there. Chirp followed his new friend to a huge building that glittered in the morning sun. At the entrance stood large doors, and beyond them, an even larger stage. Chirp felt his heart beat faster. This is my chance, he thought. But as soon as they entered the opera, they were greeted by an old cricket, the head singer of the opera. He was stern and arrogant, looking down on anyone who dared to come and prove themselves. What do you want here, little one? The old cricket asked, lifting one wing with obvious disdain. Chirp, though small, gathered all his courage. I dream of becoming an opera singer. My song is all I have. The old cricket looked him up and down and laughed. Another dreamer. Everyone who comes here has big dreams, but dreams are just that, dreams. You need more than that to make it in this world. But Chirp didn't back down. Maybe dreams are just dreams, but I won't stop trying. And so began Chirp's struggle. The old cricket didn't make it easy for him. In every moment, he tried to discourage him. You're too weak, he would say. Your song isn't strong enough. But Chirp didn't give up. He practiced for days, hours on end, tirelessly enduring the old cricket's criticism and laughter. His determination was unshakable. One day, when the opera was full of spectators, the old cricket, with a sneer, allowed Chirp to go on stage. "Go on. Show us what you've got," he said coldly. Chirp stood before the large audience, raised his wings, and began to sing. His song, filled with sorrow, hope, and all the emotions he carried within, filled the entire hall. The sound of his voice was so powerful, so pure, that everyone in the audience stopped and listened. The silence that followed was deeper than any he had ever experienced. The old cricket watched him from the sidelines, and although he didn't want to admit it, he knew that Chirp was special. His song was different. Though he was cynical and harsh, even the old cricket had to acknowledge that Chirp had succeeded where many had failed. From that day on, Chirp became the star of the opera. His song echoed across the world, and he never again had to worry about being accepted. His dream had come true, but not without struggle, not without tears. And although the taste of success was sweet, Chirp never forgot the forest where he came from, nor the words of the ants that drove him away. Now he knew that dreams were not just fantasies. They were what pushed him forward, even when everyone tried to stop him. Because the most important thing was to believe in himself, no matter how much the world around him failed to see his worth. Chirp became a true star. His name echoed from small villages to big cities. Every opera house wanted Chirp to sing on its stage. His song was pure, powerful, filled with sorrow, hope, and dreams, and it touched the hearts of all who heard it. He was showered with applause, praise, and recognition. Yet, somewhere deep inside, he felt an emptiness. Each time he sang his most beautiful aria, his heart wasn't completely fulfilled. Something, or perhaps someone, was missing. Amid the glittering lights and the roar of applause, Chirp often thought about his forest. He would remember the quiet nights under the old oak, where the stars shone above him, and his voice filled every corner of the woods. He thought of the ants, the birds, and other forest friends, even those who didn't understand him. The ants, who had pushed him forward with their criticisms, now seemed different to him. He realized that, although they drove him away and called him lazy, it was their criticisms that had been the wind beneath his wings. Maybe they actually prepared me for the world, Chirp thought one day, as he sat backstage after a big performance. The forest was too small a stage for me, but that doesn't mean I didn't belong there. Their criticism pushed me forward, made me stronger. When he realized that his true home wasn't in the big cities, but in the little forest, he made a decision. He returned, leaving behind the lights of the grand stages, because his heart told him that his real place was among the trees, the grass, and his old friends. One morning, after a long journey, Chirp returned to the forest. Everything was just as it had been when he left. The ants worked diligently, the birds flew above him, and the wind whispered through the treetops. Chirp stood under the old oak, just like before, and sang his most beautiful song. His voice filled the forest, and all the animals stopped to listen. The ants, of course, were the first to speak. "There he goes again. Isn't it enough that he left us? Now he's back to disturb us while we work," grumbled one of the older ants. But Chirp just laughed. "I haven't forgotten you. You taught me to be stronger. Your words, your criticism, helped me go out into the world and show my talent. Thank you for that." The ants looked at each other, puzzled. Although they had always been harsh towards him, they now realized that Chirp had succeeded thanks to his perseverance, and also to their criticism. He was proof that strength comes from facing challenges. And so, Chirp continued to live in the forest. He sang every day, regardless of the ants and their disdain. His song was now stronger than ever, filled with the experiences he had brought back from the big world. And although the ants continued with their work, they were glad that Chirp was there. His song was no longer just a disturbance. It had become part of the rhythm of their days, even if they didn't want to admit it. When winter came, Chirp didn't have to beg for food. The ants, as always, provided him with warmth and shelter. Even though they never openly apologized or admitted their mistakes, Chirp knew they had accepted him in their own way. His dream had come true. But he realized that his roots had always been in the forest, among the creatures who loved him, even if they didn't show it in the most beautiful way. And now, with every new song he sang, he felt happier than ever, because he was where he truly belonged, on his small but perfect stage.